Hey guys, it's Ro. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up this week. And if you've been reading the emails, if you've been doing the work, you know we've been building towards something. And today, we're going to complete it. Not just intellectually and not conceptually, embodied, physical and real. So before we begin, I want you to get a few things ready. Get yourself a piece of paper and a pen. Get yourself some kind of bowl, because that's where we're going to, do a little bit of the fire in. Whether it's an old salad bowl or maybe a pot from the garden or something. But it's got to be fireproof. All right. I'm sure you guys are responsible enough to know. I mean, we don't want to burn down our screened-in porch or anything like that. So it's got to be fireproof. Make sure you get a lighter or matches. And most importantly, you want your list. The list I asked you to make on Tuesday, the 3 things you need to release. If you didn't make it yet, pause this right now. Go back to Tuesday's email and make the list. Because this practice only works if you're working with something real. Okay, let's begin. So this week, we've been talking about one fundamental truth. You can't have a new year if you bring the old you into it. Now, I thought about doing this email sequence, this recording, in the new year, but everyone is inundated with stuff. So I figured, why don't we wait a few weeks and check in? So on Tuesday, I asked you the question, right? It was January 27th, and how many of us made commitments to ourselves in January 1st to be something bigger? Remember? And I said, how's it going? And for most of us, the answer is, we're already back to our old patterns. And it's not because we lack willpower, but because we're trying to create a new us while dragging the old us along for the ride. I asked you to make a list of 3 things you needed to release. Whether it was a behavior that doesn't serve you, a belief that's no longer true, maybe a relationship or dynamic that's keeping us stuck, or a story that we keep telling ourselves. And here's what I said. You can't create space for the new until you release the old. And that was on Tuesday. You guys remember? Then on Wednesday, we went a little bit deeper. We talked about why your brain resists letting go. I shared the neuroscience, the negative bias. Remember, your brain, it's hardwired to perceive change as a threat. I mean, even good change, because change equals the unknown, and the unknown equals potential danger. How about the familiarity principle? You remember that one? Where the brain prefers what it knows over what doesn't? Even if what it knows is painful, familiar misery feels safer than unfamiliar freedom. I mean, it's so effed up, isn't it? But I really hope that these emails are like a brain hack for you, and they're going to land, and they're going to make some, finally give you the space to make some progress. Or if you've been progressing, give you that little edge. And in that email, I also explained how yoga rewires your nervous system to embrace change instead of resist it. Studies on neuroplasticity show that meditation and yoga literally change the structure of your brain. Now look, if you've been practicing yoga and meditating as I have, you don't need to read the studies. You're experiencing it. They decrease activity in the amygdala, your fear center, and increase activity in what's called the prefrontal cortex. And that's your conscious choice center. In other words, yoga teaches your brain that change is safe. And when your brain feels safe, letting go becomes possible. I asked you to look at your list again and ask. You guys remember the questions? What am I afraid of if I happen to let this go? Because the fear, that's your negativity bias talking. Your brain trying to keep you safe by keeping you the same. Now that was on Wednesday. And then in this email that I sent today, Thursday, January 29th, and by the way, it's about 4 a.m. as I record this for you guys, we talked about something critical. I wrote that resistance it's not your enemy, it's your teacher. I told you the story about Biosphere 2, the sealed research facility in Arizona where scientists replicated Earth's ecosystem perfectly, except they forgot one thing, the wind. And without the wind resistance, the trees grew tall, but they were weak and they snapped under their own weight. Because the wind wasn't the problem, the wind, that was the solution. The constant pressure of the wind, like the pushing, the bending, the challenging, is what forces trees to grow stronger, denser wood. An archer can only propel an arrow forward by pulling it back into resistance. An airplane can only get lift by pressing into the wind, right? We can go on and on and on and find all these different examples. Like a muscle, it can only grow when it's challenged, when it's broken down, when it rebuilds stronger. I say this in class all the time. Nothing grows in an easy environment. And the same is true for us, for you. That resistance you felt when you tried to let go, that's not a sign that you're failing. That's the wind. That's what makes you stronger. All right, so here we are. I'm doing my very best to lay the context, to pre-frame you guys, right? You've done all the work. You've made the list. You've named the fear. You've understood the resistance. And now we're going to do something about it. Because here's what Tony Robbins says. I don't know if you've ever listened to him, but he says, never leave the sight of setting a goal without doing something towards its attainment. You know what I mean? Because talk is cheap. You can't just think about letting go. You can't just talk about it. You got to do something. And today, that something's going to be a ceremony. It's not just symbolic, alchemical. Fire doesn't just destroy, you know what? It also transforms. It burns away what's no longer needed and creates space for what's next. And that's what we're going to do right now. But before we begin, I want you to understand why this works. Because this isn't woo-woo. I mean, this is backed in neuroscience, and I was blown away when I did the research. Your brain, it learns through embodied experiences. You can tell yourself 1,000 times, I'm letting this go. But until you do something physical, something your body can feel and your senses can witness, your brain doesn't fully believe it. This is why every culture throughout history has used ceremonies for major life transitions. Like, think about it, weddings and funerals, coming of age rituals and graduations. Ceremonies mark the end of one phase and the beginning of another. And they work because they engage your entire nervous system. Your visual, right? You're going to see the paper burn. You're going to watch it. The kinesthetic. You'll feel the heat. You write with your hand. The auditory. You'll hear the crackle of the flame. Olfactory, right? Your smell, essentially. You're going to smell the smoke. And symbolically, your brain registers that this is real, like this is happening. When you engage all 5 senses in a ritual, your subconscious can't ignore it. It's not just a thought. It's an actual event. And your brain encodes events differently than thoughts. Events create neural pathways. Remember I wrote about that? So when you write down what you're releasing and you physically burn it and you watch it transform into ash, your brain registers, okay, that's done, that's over. We're moving forward now. And that's not magic. That's how your nervous system works. And that's why we're going to do this. All right. Here's what we're going to do. In a moment, I'm going to guide you through a breathing practice. It's simple. It's not complicated. Just breathing in the new and breathing out the old. But we're going to do it with intention, with consciousness, and with purpose. And while you're breathing, we're going to hold the list, the 3 things you're releasing in your awareness. Not forcing anything, not fighting anything, just witnessing, observing, allowing. And then when you're ready, you're going to take that piece of paper, you're going to light it on fire, and then you're going to watch it burn. You're going to watch the old you, the old patterns, the old stories, the old limitations transform into smoke and ash. And as it burns, you're going to breathe in what's next. The new you, the new possibility, the new year. Not because you're forcing it, but because you've created space for it. Now, here's what I want you to know. Not all of us listening to this is going to do the physical ceremony. I get that, and that's okay. Some of you are going to drive when you listen to this. Some of you are at work. Some of you are, you're just not ready, and that's fine. You can still do the breathing practice. You can still visualize the release. You can still set the intention. And when you're ready, maybe tonight, maybe this weekend, because this weekend we're getting a boatload of snow, or maybe next week, you can come back and do the physical ceremony. But for those of you who are ready now, let's do this. All right. So I want you to get comfortable. If you're sitting, sit up tall. If you're standing, ground your feet. Now close your eyes if it feels safe doing that. In other words, if you're driving, don't do it. Or you can just soften your gaze. Now take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale completely through your nose or your mouth. Good. Now bring your list to mind. And if you have it in front of you, you want to look at it, you can. The 3 things you're releasing. Don't judge them. Don't analyze them. Just acknowledge them. I'm releasing, and you fill in the blank. I'm releasing, right? Releasing that thing. I'm releasing whatever it is. Now we're going to breathe. Inhale through your nose, slowly, deeply. And as you breathe in, feel yourself gathering the energy, the intention, the clarity of what you want to create. And what to do when you call it in, what's on the other side of letting go, breathe that in too. Then you're going to exhale. You can do it through your nose or your mouth, slowly and completely. And as you exhale, as you breathe out, feel yourself releasing, feel yourself letting go. Softening the grip on what no longer serves you. Let's do it again. Inhale, breathing in the new, the possibility, the version of you that's ready to emerge. And then exhale, breathe out the old, the pattern, the story, the limitation. All right, one more time. Inhale, feel the expansion, the space, the readiness. And then exhale, feel the release, the softening, the letting go. Good. Now, if your eyes are closed, open your eyes. All right. If you have your paper, your bowl, your lighter, this is the moment. Take your list, the 3 things you're releasing. Write them down if you haven't already. And as you write, breathe, stay present, stay conscious. This isn't just a list. This is a declaration. Now, I'm going to guide you through the ceremony itself. Now, of course, I want you to make sure everything's safe. There's nothing combustible or flammable around you. And when you're ready, I'd like for you to hold a piece of paper in your left hand. I'd like you to strike the match and let the match burn. I want you to look into the fire, into the flame. And then very slowly, intentionally, take the flame over to the piece of paper and watch it ignite. Once it ignites, place it into the bowl and look at it. Visualize the transformation. Watch it. Experience it. I'm getting goosebumps doing this right now. I've done this exercise so many times. It really works. And when you look at the fire burning, once it consumes a piece of paper. I mean, it's not a huge event here, because it doesn't have to be. I'd like for you to cultivate gratitude. Gratitude for every decision and every event, because that which you just incinerated, that served you, that helped you as a stepping stone. There are no mistakes in life. Everything happened for a reason. The fact that you're here now, taking that old fodder, that old stuff and burning it, that's what's going to transform the new. Like the wind, like the archer's bow. Now please close your eyes, take a big breath in, and as you exhale, sit up as tall as you can. Feel the breath leaving your body. Now just take a moment and let your breath be natural. Notice how you feel. You just did something powerful, something real. You didn't just think about letting go. You actually let it go. And your nervous system knows it. Now here's the final piece. You remember what Tony Robbins said? Never leave the sight of setting a goal without doing something towards its attainment. So before you finish listening to this, I want you to commit to one action, just one, that you're going to take today toward the new you. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. This is critical. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation, setting a boundary. Maybe it's getting on your yoga mat or asking for help. Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't serve you, or saying yes to something that scares you. Returning the email that's been sitting in your inbox, cleaning your walk-in closet, taking that bottle of vodka, that bottle of Tito's that's sitting in the cupboard in the cabinet and pouring it right down the drain. Whatever it is, do it today. Because that action is what seals the ceremony. That action is what tells your brain, we're serious, we're moving forward, we're sincere. The old pattern is done. You guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the honor of coaching you, stewarding you through this process, this important work. It takes courage. It just does. And you just did it. I'm honored to have guided you through this. All right, share this with a friend. Thank you again. Love you guys. All right, bye-bye.